So we're back about a year later or so. The Leo Brothers podcast.
A year, couple months, right?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a long, long time. We kind of just threw this thing in the gutter. A lot has happened since then, huh?
Yeah, a lot has happened. Um, but we're gonna stick through it with it this time. And we're gonna be focusing on the weekly blog posts that are uploaded. Main focus on that every week, and then obviously what's been going on the week with our lives and what we have found interesting throughout the week as well. Without further ado, we're going to start off.
What? What did you just say? What we found interesting over a week is what? No, this isn't gonna be a daily update, keeping up with the Leos. No, this isn't happening.
Yeah, it's not the Kardashians.
Well, I didn't want to say not the Kardashians, but yeah, I don't want to diarize our lives. If that's a word. That's not a word. But here, you go on with your little diatribe you're doing.
Well, we're going to be talking about plastic this week. It's a pretty debatable topic because it's in our life every day, everywhere you go, everywhere you use, everything you use. Honestly, yeah, it's pretty much plastic.
And what's the big deal about it, huh?
Eat like a credit card worth of plastic or more a week. You don't even know it.
Yeah, so obviously that's not good for your organs, right? Like they're not meant to process just pure plastic. I'm assuming like that's not something that
No,
they're built for.
your cells get mutations from it. Your cells also is like, all right, I'm done with this, and then they just die.
Could they just die?
Some
So
of them just die. Some of them get mutated. There's multiple different kinds of ways plastic affects your body and your cells, your tissues, and your organ system. Obviously,
mm-hmm.
it's a full chain reaction.
So doing all that, what you're saying to me. But at the end of the day, I'm still here breathing, and so are a lot of Americans that drink, multiple Aquafina bottles a day. Hell, we probably eat more than a plastics of a credit card worth in a week. So,
Probably do, but there's all these cancers out there. Some of them are unexplainable on how they happen. There's other minor diseases that happen that you don't even notice, and mutations that could affect you and you don't even know. Like, for example, Alzheimer's, that could also be affected that. And then also birth defects, we're starting to see them now. Again, plastic was really introduced, I think, back in the 40s and the 50s. It was really started production. And now we're just starting to see the effects of people that have been using plastic for X amount of these years, their whole lives. And, some of these cases, I've heard a story where someone froze water bottles in her freezer pretty much every day because they like to keep them cold. They expanded the plastic, and then when they went to go melt, um, they get plastic in the water. The same thing that happens when you leave plastic water bottle in the car. It heats up, melts on plastics, gets a bunch of more plastic in your water. That's that wasn't already there. Granted, there's already plastic in the water in a water bottle. Um, but then this person died, and they linked it back. She had cancer, and they linked it back to plastic.
so what?
Full circle.
One anecdotal story about one lady dying from drinking water out of plastic bottles. Because if it's really this dangerous, Nathan, and I hate to call BS on your little theory, and I'm not calling BS. I don't doubt it's true. I don't doubt it's bad for us. Hell, we'd probably be much healthier if we weren't eating all this plastic. But when you look at the average American lifespan, right? Because I'm assuming, is this going on in Europe as well? Or is this an American problem?
Both
Yeah.
in America.
Yeah, I assume
It
the
is.
pretentious Europeans, sometimes they're pretentious for a reason. But the average American lifespan has only gone up the last 50 years. Now, in recent years, it's ticked down a little bit, but not even by a year, right? So I'm not going to worry about this type of shit until we start losing years off the average American lifespan, because there are so many other fucking problems in this goddamn country. Let's be real.
There are a lot of problems in this country, but this is a very big one because um, it affects future generations. It mostly it affects. There's a lot of birth defects these days. About 1 in 3, 1 in 4, 1 in 3 people are born with autism these days. If you look at that statistic back in the 1960s, 1950s, that statistic was like 1 in 1,000. I'll look it up right now while you want to say your bit on that.
That is a huge disparity. It's something I'm gonna need to see to believe, but I think a lot of things contribute to that. Not just that it's one of the thousand, because
Oh, I'm sorry. I wish it was 1 in 1,000. It was 1 in 10,000 in 1970.
and what is it now?
2016, 1 in 54.
1 in 54. So it's not
In
one in
2016,
but it's not one in
but it's
three.
exponentially. Let me see. Let me find another source real quick before we get this fact. Say your bit, and I'll figure it out what it is in
So
2023.
okay, I didn't know that is still an alarming statistic, but I do know that it's not 1 in 3 kids are born with autism. Right? That's what I doubt extremely right now. But at the end of the day, you saying those kids, their lives just don't matter?
It'll I see matter. Okay. Statistic is better. I'm sorry. 1 in 3 was a little bit alarming. It is 1 in 36.
All right, that's still not good.
Yeah, but again, when do we start plastic production and all these other preservatives and everything else?
That's
It could lead-
coincidence, Nathan. That's not direct proof. Like, I need to see actual science and things linking one thing to another in this case. I do not see that. Like, there's no direct correlation between the plastic and autism.
How about in PubMed published paper in 2022? Exposure to microplastic as a potential risk factor for autism spectrum disorder.
Potential risk factor. All right. That's the title of the
Here's
stuff.
another one. Plastic linked to raising rates of autism.
How? If how that's
There's many, like, it's caused birth defects, and this is one of them.
well. Do you think dad and mom? You think they drink out of plastic bottle? All your friends who are not.
No, they do.
Their mothers. Do you think they?
I feel like their plastic consumption has gone up a lot in the last years compared to back in the 90s. You look at a supermarket back in the 90s and the 2000s. Yes, there's plastic still. Plastic water bottles are still a thing, but I feel like it's a lot more prevalent right now on how much plastic is actually out there and we actually consume. I feel like 10 years ago we weren't consuming as much plastic that we are right now, but 20 years ago, and I feel like the rate just keeps going up and up and up. Do you understand the point I'm getting at?
Yes, I do understand.
When we first started producing plastic, the rate was low that we were consuming plastic. We probably were not even close to eating a credit card worth of plastic a week. Now we're probably overeating a credit card worth of plastic a week.
And you do see it's not as alarming as it may have sounded, that statistic, but it's still pretty bad. Still really bad. I think a lot of things go into autistic birth rates. I think that goes into food regulation, drug regulation, a bunch of things, right? But
Not
this could be
disagreeing.
one of it, right? But how do you think we go about solving this then? What do you think that the government should do from here on out?
We got to find alternative ways.
Not even the government, just people in general.
We got to find alternative ways. So basically, one big one that everybody could do is dipping the water bottles and opting for a reusable aluminum water bottle or a water bottle that's not made out of plastic without a plastic straw is another big one. Because some of these reusable water bottles have a plastic straw that you could just rewash, and you're still getting microplastics in your system because you're drinking out of a plastic straw at the end of the day. Did you ever see those water bottles?
Yes, I've seen those water bottles. They taste disgusting, and so does every other aluminum water bottle that I've ever had. I've had water out of it. I try to put extra ice in it, Nathan. It tastes disgusting. All right. So can you find me a tasty like glass? Water tastes good as shit out of glass. So, but glass breaks easy, right? So can you give me something that's like glass that's gonna make water taste real good that I could drop on the ground and not having to worry about, going to the ER to get something removed out of my foot?
There's probably a glass material out there you can make that is a mixture of materials that won't shatter the glass as easily. But again, that's a development product right there. It's a good product idea. It's just not enough people has come to that commitment that don't like drinking out of aluminum water bottle. I personally don't have a problem. I actually enjoy water more out of the aluminum water bottle, plastic water
Then
more.
if you are lying
I'm not lying.
to the 5 people that are going to listen to this, you are lying to them. I know.
That's your opinion. That's my opinion.
I guess.
Everybody has their
I
own
guess so. Different straw for different folks, but you actually think that that metal water tastes better. That's like saying Dasani's better than Aquafina.
It's not metal water.
We're not going to start that conversation because we're anti-plastic bottles on this channel over here. This is going on YouTube. Where is this going?
It's not even that. Yeah, it'll be on multiple different platforms. Like we've been, well, not we've been posting out. We posted out in the past. But it doesn't stretch that far either. It goes to how our food is managed anymore with all the plastic saran wrap and the no, not plastic saran wrap. That I'm sorry, but like other stuff they keep food in that's made out of plastic.
Ziploc bags,
No, it's very bad.
PB&Js. How that bad? Oh yeah.
How about when you heat up the plastic bags and it releases all those chemicals that
Who's heating up a PB&J inside the bag?
heats up automatically? Like if you keep the PB&J like in a lunchbox, for example, that's not insulated with an ice pack in it, it's heating up. How about like leaving it in the car?
That's when we put an ice pack in it, though. We know.
Still food's touching that plastic bag and it's rubbing against that bag, rubbing a bunch of microplastics, nanoplastics, and all these other harmful chemicals on them. Don't even know about. And then going to the sea, we just dispose of it in the ocean. It gets in the food. It gets in the food chain. Basically, the fish eat it. And then when we harvest the fish, what's in the fish? There's plastic.
Yeah, okay, obviously there's plastic in the fish if they're eating plastic. I get what you're saying, right? So how do we take down big plastic? I understand how bad the problem is. You're still not offering any solutions.
Offer the water bottle solution.
And I don't think that this is what I'm saying, right? You get the water bottle solutions, all right, we'll do that stuff, but I don't think we should go any further than that.
Well, you got containers instead of Ziploc bags. Use glass containers you could use.
It's more expensive to produce, so.
Yeah, but in the long run, say for example, in 10 years, you probably save more money by reusing the glass containers and washing them.
Then it's true, but people don't think about the long run now, do that. Anyway, like I said, I think there are bigger issues facing America specifically today than microplastics. But it is an issue that is worth taking a look at because the changes do seem quite simple that need to be made to actually progress towards limiting the amount of plastics that we can consume. And if that actually goes into that 1 in 36 statistic about autism, then
Look at it. Look when we start. I'll show you this chart right now.
okay, yeah, I understand, Nathan, but like, there's got to be more that goes into that statistic. That's not just that.
Where? Saying there's other statistics that go into that too, but it just keeps growing and growing.
Mm-hmm. That's true. But, there are some other problems America is facing. It's just specifically, inflation. There's a little bit of a overpopulation in some of the migrant cities, not the migrant cities, the border cities and places by the border. There's increasing crime in a lot of the areas of the city. Some mass shootings are going up. And all that starts at the top. And we might have a little shakeup at the top come 2024 now, might we, Nathan?
Yeah, I don't follow politics.
What? You don't follow politics. Yeah, but it's not politics. It's who the president of the United States is.
Doesn't matter. I don't follow it.
Well, like, if you're talking about this plastic shit, right? Do you want anything to get done about it?
I do. I personally can't do much for it other than helping out myself and not consuming plastic that surrounds my environment. And then if everybody starts doing that, the big corporations are like, sales are going down. You gotta change. It's the only way to do stuff around here because everybody's bought out at the top at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
That's why you gotta.
what's plastic made out of? Oil.
Okay, so that's why you look
What
for.
controls that?
That's why you don't vote for those candidates. You get informed. You go on these websites where it's openly disclosed who's getting money from where. It's not that hard. You find because there's these green interest groups. They also invest in candidates. Not as much because they don't have the capital to do as much, but they also invest in candidates and they're out there. So if you took the time to be interested in politics, maybe you and the other people who think like you could actually become a bloc or become a faction that can make a difference in the whole political landscape of things.
That's why you got to build the platform first before you think about the outcome.
What does that have to do with anything?
Talking about why don't people like us actually get the capital and make a word for yourself and get your voice out there and do it? Well, that's the number one problem in America right now. Everybody says they're going to do all this stuff and they don't do any of it.
It's very simple as just make sure you're checking the right box when you go in that ballot. And yes, you gotta trust a lot of other people to do the same thing. But at the end of the day, that's what a lot of shit comes down to. Is just make sure you're checking the right box that aligns with your values.
Yeah, that's politics. I don't want to talk about politics anymore.
But you want this shit to get done, don't you? You want plastics regulations.
We're making it aware to people to actually be aware of the situation, to actually change their habits to not use the plastic more than go after the big companies to stop producing plastic. Yes, that's the goal. Maybe someone that is listening to this might have the power to do that and will do that in their own willing way. If people want to go contact the higher ups to stop producing plastic, they could. And honestly, I would love that. But that's not going to happen with my voice on this podcast at this instant moment in time. Maybe in a month, maybe in 6 months, maybe the platform gets bigger. It will. That's the point I'm trying to get at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not.
We need to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere. You got to start small and then work your way big. You can't go big instantly. It's impossible.
I'm just saying, like, did I ask questions for you? Did you vote in the 2022 midterms?
I did not.
Well, then you don't have a right to complain about this type of shit. Because if you didn't vote for your senators or your local, especially your state legislators, right? Then how are you going to complain about, well, you didn't even vote for your state's governor. How are you going to complain about the laws and regulations that exist in the country? You do your research and see what the candidates were about. That's what more Americans need to do. That's what I'm saying. So you're thinking, oh, I'm going to get a platform and I'm going to tell everybody that, yeah, we should be aligning with these type of values. There's a way to do it, but when you don't have a platform, there's also a way to do it. And it's called voting for the right person.
Okay. I don't want to get into politics. I'm done talking about politics. You're going off topic.
Not off topic, it's pretty on topic to how this type of stuff don't get changed. But
Nick, everybody's bought out. They're all bought out by the same people and the same stuff. It's a cycle. It happens. You're right. I agree with you. I think
people like you don't vote. That cycle continues.
I feel the local governments and the state governments, yes, your vote matters more in that compared to I would say the presidential election compared to that one.
Well, I would say the president really isn't even part of this equation. It's more, everybody votes in the president. Not everybody, but majority of Americans do vote. They're eligible to vote in the presidential election. Not that many vote in midterms. I mean, a lot do, but not that many.
That's a fair point.
And then they complain about things like microplastics that they're eating and stuff like that. Well, then there's green candidates. There were green candidates that were running in the midterms, right? You just gotta vote for them. You gotta vote for the people and make sure that not only what they're saying, that like you said, find who's invested in them. So make sure they're really about it. Because a lot of these green companies do invest in candidates. It's just, I don't know. Anyway, what else do you want to elaborate in terms of the plastic?
That's pretty much most of it. Again, there's a lot with it, and most people are like, yeah, I can't make a difference. at a small scale level.
Yeah, you could. Don't be like Nathan. Vote.
That. But
And yes, do what he's saying.
if you care about your health and you care about your future, I suggest staying away from it. And honestly, staying away from anything that's processed. But that is a different topic to talk about at a different date. Yeah, we weren't made to ingest oil into our systems, and that's basically what we're doing. And we're seeing all these other diseases come up. There's a new disease that come up in the dictionary every day. It's like a 1 in a million disease. Well, 1 in a million diseases are all linked back to something. And this, I'm not saying, cancer is not caused just by oil. There's obviously other factors as well. But this is a very big factor that you could actually change right now in your lifestyle. And it's not a hard change to make. That's all. That's pretty much all I want to say.
You can still enjoy the same food, just out of different containers. And also, make sure you know who is in the pockets of who you're clicking that box when you get in there. From the presidential election, local election, it doesn't matter. All right? Stay blessed, y'all. What? No, I'm not saying that. Fuck, that's not the exit. What are we saying to exit? Yo.
If you want to learn more, leo-bancarelli.art. There's a whole blog post on it with articles that are linked to it. I did not talk about the autism rate in these articles. I just mentioned birth defects, but if you'd like to look that up, you could look that up as well. Be my guest. Chart's pretty interesting. And then next week, talking about something with sound, and pretty interesting. Sound is the next week's topic, and the blogs are usually posted. I think we're going to be doing every Thursday. The blogs will be posted. Podcasts will be posted Friday. So it'll be a nice little listen before a big long weekend of shenanigans and other stuff.
Yeah. What he said, get this listening before all that or during it. If you're a loser and you're not going to go out during the weekend, you're just going to stay in your house and, watch TV or play PlayStation or just diddle your stick or cliddle around, and throw this on in the background. Give us a view. All right? Have a great day, y'all.
All right, we'll see you
Never
guys.
out.
Yep, that's Nikki. I'm Nate. We'll see y'all.